What's going on, everybody? This is Brendan back again for another video, and in this video I'm going to be giving you my top 10 tips for mobile phone videography for social media platforms such as YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, you name it, vertical, horizontal, this works for everything. These tips are going to drastically improve the quality of your videos and help with your workflow as well. I always say the best camera is the one you have on you. If you're doing social media content, for instance, lifestyle, vlogging, bringing your phone, bringing your camera out and about, and you want to vlog in a store, you want to be in public at a restaurant, the phone is the tool to use. Not only will it increase the speed and efficiency of your workflow, it's going to make things easier, things are going to look great if you use these 10 tips, and you're going to be able to create more content because of how easy this is. I'm going to show you my entire workflow beginning to end using a phone and all the little tips I use to make the most cinematic, high quality looking images possible. And make sure to stick around for the final two tips because I think they're going to be quite unexpected and you're not going to see those coming, so stick around to the end. The beautiful thing is the video coming straight out of a mobile phone, whether it be an iPhone, which is what I'll be showing you today, or a Samsung or a Google Pixel, they all have incredible cameras, and these tips work across the board. I want to give you these tips as fast as possible to make this video as short as possible to give you as much value as I can in a short amount of time. So let's just get into it. Tip number one. When I started using a camera cage on my iPhone with handles on the side of the camera cage and mounting points that allowed me to mount microphones and lights and other accessories, it absolutely changed the way I made videos on my phone. You can still take your phone in public and nobody bats an eye, even though you have a slightly more professional looking setup with a cage over your phone and some handles and some accessories attached to it. It's still a phone. And at the end of the day, if you get anybody coming up to you, say in a store saying, "You can't film here," just say, "I'm filming on my phone." Or you could say, "Oh, sure. You can take the accessories off and then keep filming with your phone," and they can't really do anything about it. People film with their phones, that's what they do. You can literally just say, "Oh, I'm FaceTiming a friend," you know? So why would you use a camera cage in the first place with your phone if you're trying to be, discreet or, low profile, easy, making it easy to carry your phone around without any additional accessories? What I do is I have a crossbody bag that I have my little accessories, my camera cage, my microphone, the handles, that sort of thing. I keep it all in this crossbody bag, so when I want to attach it to my phone, I can attach it really quickly and easily. I use the small rig cage on my iPhone 16 Pro Max, and it's a very affordable cage, around $100, comes with the handles with it as well, and it has quarter 20 screw mounts all over it, as well as cold shoe mounts on it for attaching accessories. So the reason I love that is I can attach accessories to my phone while also having a better grip on the phone. Sometimes I noticed when I was holding my phone up trying to film, whether it be vertically or horizontally, either my fingers are getting in the way of the lens or my grip was covering the microphone. And so I'd wind up with muffled images or images where my finger's a little bit in front of the lens. Additionally, when your hands are so close to the sensor itself, any little movement with your hands is exaggerated and makes the image look more wobbly. If you have grips further away from the sensor, whether you're shooting vertically or horizontally, it allows you to be a lot more steady with your camera. So you get a lot more locked off, steady, smooth looking images, and it makes it feel a lot less like a phone because there aren't any micro jitters. And that brings me to the next two tips, which are when you're using grips that are further away from the camera that are attached to your camera cage, then you can turn off the internal stabilization features in the camera. Now, you might ask, why would you do that? Because the internal stabilization features on these new phones are really, really good. But if it's doing optical stabilization, then it's just eating into the resolution and it's eating into the sensor in order to create stabilization, which you could always add in post, but you don't want to bake that in if you don't have to. So you can get more stabilized images by having some grips on the outside of your camera cage to make it stable. So then you can turn that setting off internally and then still have stable images, but you're using the whole sensor. And the other reason I really like the cage is, like I said, it allows me to attach additional accessories. And my favorite accessory to use with mobile videography is my wireless microphone setup. I use the Hollyland Lark Max, which is a receiver with two transmitters that transmit into the receiver. The receiver has a cold shoe plate on the bottom of it, which allows you to mount it onto the camera cage, and then you use a little cable to plug it into your phone. Now I'm gonna come out with an entire separate video reviewing this microphone and why I think it's the best wireless microphone for mobile videography, so stay tuned for that video. That'll be coming out next. The next tip is to make sure that your white balance setting in camera is locked. Natively, all of these mobile phones will be trying to constantly change the white balance automatically. So if you're indoors with certain lighting, it'll be adjusting the white balance for an indoor setting, and then you might pan and you might walk outside, or you might look through a window and there's a different white balance outside, and it'll automatically correct for that. That type of stuff is great for if you don't have to think about it. But if you want to be in a controlled environment where you want the white balance to stay the same, then you want to lock that white balance, because the camera makes mistakes. And a perfect example of this is when I'm filming a video in front of my seamless wall backdrop that has different colors. And maybe I pull down the purple seamless paper backdrop and I'm trying to film my talent on this purple backdrop. It'll see all that purple in the image and it'll try to autocorrect that purple to white, and then the white balance of the entire image gets messed up. Then you might pan away, the white balance changes, you pan back, it doesn't come back to how it was, and then suddenly your image is way warmer than it was. So it's constantly changing throughout the video that you're filming, between different clips or between the same clip, and then trying to correct all that in post is an absolute nightmare. So in those situations, you really want to make sure you're locking the white balance. The next tip is to turn on HDR mode if you have it for HDR video on your mobile phone. What this does is it allows you to get more detail in your shadows and highlights. If you're, say, in a car and you're filming someone in a car and there's a bright window, bright car window, and you want that to be exposed as well as the interior, great situation. Any high dynamic range situation where you have very bright sprites and very dark shadows. If I'm in this situation and my curtains were open and I wanted the curtains to not be blown out, HDR mode is great for that. So those types of situations help it feel much less video-y and a little bit higher quality. And it really doesn't hurt, and it also doesn't really affect your workflow either. So it looks great. Make sure that setting is turned on. Another easy setting to turn on is your horizon level setting. This is just a little line that goes through the middle of your viewfinder or the middle of the phone screen that as you're adjusting the phone, it'll tell you if your horizon is level. A lot of the times we're shooting handheld with these. We're not putting them on tripods. Sometimes you are putting your phone on a tripod, mostly you're not. And even when you are putting it on a tripod, it's hard to sometimes tell if you're level. And then even more so if you're using the wide angle lens, it's very hard to tell if you're level. And so I always recommend turning that little level indicator on, and that'll really help make sure that you're getting a nice, even level shot. Additionally, if you're shooting on the iPhone, guys, do it in 4K and make sure you're set to 24 FPS. A lot of these phones natively, they'll want to do 4K 30 FPS, and my recommendation is just to put it in 24. It'll still be completely compatible with all social media platforms, so you might as well do it. And another tip along the lines of stabilization is get yourself a mobile phone stabilizer, a gimbal. So I use the Ronin RS3 because it works with my mirrorless Sony camera that I'm filming on now. It also works with my mobile videos when I'm shooting that. So that's a really great feature if you're doing a lot of run and gun movement shots that you want to feel extra cinematic, and a lot of big sweeping fast camera moves that will feel really, really smooth, like they're locked off on a dolly or something. That is a really, really cheap tool. They're like $100, $120. You get that, you get yourself a camera cage, you get yourself a nice microphone, you adjust some settings in your phone, and you are set to go. My next tip is one that might surprise you, and that is to use the cinematic mode sparingly. A lot of people think the cinematic mode is the way to go if you're trying to shoot high quality looking video on your mobile phone, but in fact the cinematic mode, as great as it makes the backgrounds look all blurry and the shallow depth of field and it makes it look all cinematic, they still really struggle with nailing focus and being able to rack focus to different things. So say you're filming yourself like I am now, and you hold up something that you want the camera to adjust the focus to, it'll really struggle to focus to that thing in front if there's any bit of the face of the person in the background. And you know, the Sony is doing the same thing. If I hold this here, it's still gonna be focused on my eyes, even though this is here. You'll have to be tapping the screen to readjust the focus every time. That induces camera shake, it makes it feel unprofessional, and then it's hunting, and then you wind up with half of your videos out of focus, and it really struggles. The technology is not there yet, in my opinion, for most uses. If you're doing a locked off shot where you know your focus isn't going to be changing, then definitely, sure, do cinematic mode. But If you're gonna have other shots in the same video that aren't in cinematic mode, then it feels weird to be going back and forth between like a shallow and a deep depth of field. So in that case, I like to just not use cinematic mode and not risk filming something that I don't want to have to do another take of. Say if my talent is just a one take wonder and I don't want to have them do a second take, I'm not gonna risk filming something that might be out of focus. So I usually avoid cinematic mode unless I'm really confident that the focus is gonna be right. And the final and most unexpected tip, I think, that I have for this video is about log settings. So a lot of people want to use the new log settings or raw video features in these new mobile phones because the tech has just come out and it's very exciting and it gives you way more data and way more range to play with the colors in post. But specifically this video it's not about shooting cinematic short films or cinematic commercials with your iPhone. We're not doing that. You know, it's rare. Occasionally you hear stories of short films that made festivals like Tangerine, which was shot on an iPhone. This was years ago. And people are trying to do it and they're doing it and maybe they're using the log mode to do that. If you're shooting stuff for social media, guys, don't use log mode. It's gonna drastically increase the file sizes and it's gonna drastically increase the amount of post-production workflow you're going to have to do, and you're going to have to wind up editing those videos in your computer. What I recommend is to do your entire workflow just in the phone. Shoot the video in the phone, edit it in your phone, post it on the phone. That allows you to actually get a lot of content out in a very short amount of time. And the fact of the matter is, for all intents and purposes, you're not doing heavy color grading on these videos, and the color that's baked into these videos in the more compressed format, it looks great. You don't need to adjust it. And this is especially true if you have your HDR mode turned on, which I mentioned earlier. So I mentioned that a huge part of all this is your production pipeline, your workflow, how fast and efficient you are, how easy it is to make content quickly, and that's what we're all trying to do. We're all trying to output a lot of content here on social media, especially short form stuff. And so in my opinion, I think it's really important to talk about, for mobile phone videography, your post-production workflow. And this is why I don't recommend shooting on log. It's just a great idea to have the workflow all in your phone without ever having to go into a computer. So the editor that I use and that I highly recommend is CapCut. It's what a lot of the biggest social media creators are using these days. So it's made by the TikTok people, and it has a lot of amazing pro features if you want to pay for the pro membership, but it also comes as a free version that's very powerful as well. And there's a lot of other great editing apps out there, so you don't have to use CapCut if you don't want to. That's just the one that I happen to use that I know most other creators are using, and it's a very, very powerful, very easy to use, very good one. So that's the one I'll recommend for that. It's so easy to just import your videos. You can edit them, you can split audio tracks, you can do overlays, you can do green screen, you can do text. You can do all sorts of transitions, you can add sound effects, you can import a music library from, say, if you have an Epidemic Sound or a Artlist music membership, you can import all those songs you've downloaded from your other membership into CapCut. That makes it really easy to do that. So there's just so many amazing features. There's filters, there's color grading tools, you name it. It's got a lot of really, really powerful features right in the phone for you. So super easy. You export it. You can even export it with a thumbnail. So when you upload it, it uploads automatically with the thumbnail you've designed in the editor. It's very cool. And yeah, makes the workflow really easily. So that's what I recommend, and that's what I use. So that's it. Those are all of my tips for mobile phone videography for specifically social media. That's basically, that's what we're all using our mobile phones for anyways, is for social media content. I hope this helped increase the quality of your videos, and I'm sure I mentioned a couple things that you hadn't thought of before. Let me know if there's anything I missed in the comments, or if there's anything you agree with or disagree with, or if any of these tips helped you. Any and all feedback is really welcome. So thanks for watching this video. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.